Welcome to the Sleevie G Show. I'm your host for your most. My name is Gomez, and today I have an awesome guest today. We're bringing in the 2011 St. Louis Cardinal, Adron Chambers. Adrian, how you doing, buddy?
Man, I'm better now. You know what I'm saying? I was over here struggling trying to get on the link. To be honest with you, man, today has been one of them days, man. I'm actually going to Derek Brooks's golf fundraiser dinner tonight.
Oh, okay. So you got a lot going on.
Man, it's been so crazy for me since I've been back home. But to answer your question, I'm doing phenomenal, man. So thank you so much for having me on your show.
Well, listen, for me, to have a World Series champion on my show is like phenomenal for me too, because that's an amazing feat. Because I'm going to take it back a little bit because you are actually a football quarterback.
Yes, yes, yes.
Growing up, how did you transition from football to baseball? I guess like that's a huge transition.
I mean, from the beginning, if I had to speak about my childhood, well, the transition really, transition came in my childhood. Like I played baseball first. Baseball was my first love. My uncle was our president at our ballpark, our local ballpark here in Pensacola. And my mom really didn't care for me to play no football. You know what I mean? She didn't want me to get my head knocked off. I was still, 60 pounds. I was a little bitty dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everybody's always been bigger than me. So I started off playing baseball, and then my brother, the coaches from the football team, a local football team here, he seen my speed. You know, he seen some potential, I guess you could say. And my brother and the coach convinced my mom to let me play. So it really started there. Um, Professionally, I was at Mississippi State first. I had a full scholarship to
Mhm.
Mississippi. And I got in some trouble, if I had to be honest. You know, I hate talk about it sometimes because, who
I get
likes
it.
talking about the bad times? But I always believe that the bad times kind of help pave way for the good times.
Hmm.
After Mississippi State, I ended up signing another scholarship to go play at Pensacola Junior College. It's Pensacola State now. It's crazy because Pensacola, I'm coaching there now, actually.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But excuse me. I end up signing to Pensacola State, and the St. Louis Cardinals were coming to look at another player. They were coming to look at a guy by the name of DeMarcus Ingram, and I had a good game that day, and they asked me to come try out. I tried out, and the rest is history. But yeah, football was most definitely my first love. Baseball was my first sport. Football was my first love. So I wasn't unfamiliar territory for me having to switch sports like that. It was just being able to find my way, find my niche, and then making things happen. So I'm actually blessed, man. I'm blessed to be able to, learn all these things
Hmm.
as a youth. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, man, baseball was always up there with me, but football was that first love. Football kind of paved the way for everything.
Uh, I, I would say I'm an ex-football player. I never got a chance to play college ball because I hurt my knee.
Hmm.
So I was blessed enough to coach my old high school football team, freshman. You
Oh,
know,
nice.
I got to scout other teams, videotape. I was honored, and then it was a true awesome experience for me. I went to community college, so I did my 2 years, and then I still continued working like part time, going to school and coaching, which I really do miss these days. It's
Yeah, man.
hard. It's hard when you have a family with two youngins
Yeah.
to coach. So for me, from where I live to where my old team was, it's too much traveling, traffic. I won't be home ever. You know what I mean? So there's some things you have to sacrifice, and I totally understand that because I miss coaching football. I miss giving kids knowledge. You know what I mean? I guess from my past, the wrongs that I've done in high school, I tell these kids don't do that.
Man. Yeah, man. It's crazy how you said it, talk about the sacrifices. A lot of time people don't they don't understand the sacrifices. You know what I mean? They don't understand what it really takes, not just from a coach's aspect, I mean, from a player aspect, man. There's some things. I have some young guys right now that I'm coaching. Some of them are signed to Florida State, and other big schools, baseball. And I'm telling them very early, like, it's gonna be some sacrifices you gotta make, man. It's gonna be some decisions that you're gonna have to make that from the beginning, it's not gonna look fun. You know what I mean? It's not gonna look like the excuse me.
Hmm.
I was taking a nap too.
No worries, no worries.
Not, it's not gonna look like the decision that a college athlete would want to make. You know what I mean? A party or go home and study. You know what I'm saying? A lot of us gonna go, and choose that party life. So I understand most definitely when you talk about the sacrifice.
Yeah, I mean the sacrifice. I mean, my daughter's young, and she just made the. This is her second year on the dance team,
Mhm.
and it was kind of Friday. She was running, and she goes, "Dad, I'm so tired." I'm like, "Dad, you're running?" She's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Well, this is teaching you
That's
discipline."
right.
And one thing my coach always, he always said we we're like hard workers. We have our time card. When practice starts at 3 o'clock, you punch in your card, you put your lunch pail under your back, under your arm, and you start going to work.
Right.
And that's something that was drilled into me in high school. You know what I mean? Like my first year, I was very lackadaisical. Like I didn't believe in that whole thing. And then once I got a taste of it, like you said, you got to make sacrifices. Like, what do you do?
Yeah, man, most definitely.
I mean, in high school, I know there's a little bit more freedom than college. I never got the opportunity to go up that high, but even in high school, you still have an opportunity to do things like you said, go to that party with friends,
Yeah, man.
or dedicate to the team, but the school too, because you're representing somebody.
Right.
And you got to make decisions like that. It's not easy.
You know,
Um,
it's hard sometimes, but it's a lot of times when you make that good decision, you end up paying itself for it later on down in life.
right. And you made that decision for the St. Louis Cardinals, who in 2007 you entered the amateur draft
That's right.
and you got drafted in the 38th round. Now, like, how are you getting prepared? Like, getting into the draft. How did that all go for you?
I really didn't understand the draft process, man. I was so green, and plus leaving Mississippi State, I was so wanting to just clear my name, man. Like
Mhm.
I didn't understand this whole process. Man, I had a good friend of mine, Chris Fair, who really helped me during the process. You know what I'm saying? He really helped me, um, you know, with the decision making, hipping me to the rules and the draft. Like I didn't know about no draft. I didn't know we had so many rounds in the draft. How did I know now? Man, I wouldn't even have went that 38. I would have stayed an extra year in college so I can get me some more money. You know what I'm saying? I think I ended up getting $50,000 for the 38th round. Excuse me. And it was like I was just so green to it, man. I really didn't understand the process. The only thing I understood, and I think this is what helped me big time, was working. Even at that tryout, man, I'm diving for balls. Nobody was diving. Nobody was going that extra mile to let the team that whoever you were trying out for, St. Louis Cardinals at the time,
Mhm.
um, to let them know that you were there. You know what I mean? They would hit home runs in batting practice and try to see who can throw the hardest, but nobody was going the extra mile. You know what I mean? I'm diving for balls, running against walls. I wanted them to know that I was there. So that's what I understood. I understood that part of the process. And that's really to me what got it. It wasn't nothing special getting a training coach and all that. It wasn't none of that, man. Going to 1,000 tryouts. No, sometimes it only takes one time. And if it's a good team, they might keep you quiet, you know what I'm saying, and not tell
Mhm.
nobody they can draft you. But and luckily it was the St. Louis Cardinals, who is one of the most respected Major League Baseball teams there is. You know what I'm saying? So it was good for me to be able to right place, right time type situation. You feel me? So
Yeah.
most definitely, uh, I'm most definitely again thankful for have being, for with the St. Louis Cardinals at that time.
And that's something that's amazing because it's a journey itself going from double A to triple A and getting the call.
Yes.
Now, I know people, people see the movies when people are getting, like the movie The Rookie with Dennis Quaid,
Yeah.
how, the process, when you were called up to the show, like, how did that go for you? Like, was it before a game, after a game? Were you in
So that
travels? You know what I mean? Like, how did you
that
get to find out?
that year, throughout the minor leagues, I was basically I stayed at every level.
Hmm.
Man, I'm yawning. I stayed at every level, uh, from A ball all the way up to double A. Once I got to double A or rookie ball, I'm sorry. Once I got to double A, I ended up getting called up to triple A. So that was my first experience getting a call up, right?
Hmm.
It wasn't the same as getting called up in the big league, but I got my call up. But in the big leagues, man, it was a little different. It was that September call up, and it was after a game. I never forget Hammer, who was my manager. He called me into the office, and he sat me down. Asked me how I was doing. This was our last game of the season. You know what I mean? And after the game, we just had a big win, and he was like, I think they were going into the playoffs. Our AAA team were going into the playoffs. We had a good year. Um, but in September we was going to get our call up. I believe that's right. And so he sits me down and he says, "Everything okay?" I said, "Yes, sir. How you feeling?" "Yes, I'm good." Nothing. He said, and so we're going into the playoffs. So I'm thinking he might want to hit me to, "Hey, look, okay, we gonna need you, in the playoffs." And so he says, "How your mama doing?" And I told him how my mom was doing. I was like, "Hold on, why you worried about my mama, cuz?" You know what I'm saying? Like and then he started crying. He started crying before he told me the news. And he just looked at me. He said, "Man, I'm so proud of you. You've come a long way." He was one of the guys that seen me come through the Cardinals minor league organization, the ups and the downs, I mean,
Hmm.
broke some records, being with the Cardinals. I've had some injuries, so he's seen everything. And he stood up. He asked me to stand up. As he was crying, gave me the biggest hug. I never forget that. Gave me the biggest hug and said, "Adron, so proud of you. I need you to call your mama and let her know that you're gonna be going to the big leagues." And I started crying with him, and we both just shared a moment, because even he, you know, um, after those playoffs, he ended up coming to the big leagues too. And he used to always tell me that I was a big leaguer. What I mean? He used to always tell me. And I remember I told you I was a little bitty dude, man. I was what, you know, 185 pounds, 5'10", you know what I'm saying? Matt
Right.
Holliday, way bigger than that. Albert Pujols is way bigger than that. You know what I mean? So it's like even the guys that I was playing with on my minor league team, Mark Hamilton and all these Joe Mather, these guys were humongous. You know what I'm saying? So um, being able to uh, go through that process, man, to even now, it's bringing back so many memories. It was one of the moments where Coach really set it up for me. You know what I'm saying? He really
Hmm.
set it to where it was a special moment that I never forget. He could have easily just left it alone and been like, you going to the big league, go pack your stuff up, get out of my office. You know what I'm saying? But he set it up real nice for me. It was much respect. Shout out to Hammer, our manager over there in Memphis, Tennessee. Big time.
That had to been like, it's funny, like you said, you shared that moment and you shared me that moment. Like, I almost had a tear in my eye actually, because you don't get to hear this stuff. You know what I mean? People don't see it because, when they get called, they're pretty much, like you said, packing it up quickly because they have to catch a flight, but
Right.
they don't realize the inside of it. Because from what I know is, when you're getting called up, yeah, you're calling your loved ones really quick, letting them know, like, listen, I'm heading to the
Mm-hmm.
big leagues. You know what I mean? You get that moment, and then the travel arrangements, like where to get you from, when you're at Tennessee, then go to St. Louis, or if the team is traveling, they got to get you there. So it's like
Right.
that's
Right.
difficult alone for even a young man, at that time.
Yeah,
You're like,
man. Having to move. I mean, just being with a team anyway, have to get on a bus and having to get an apartment and having to live in hotels, and man, like that whole process is it could be strenuous, man. It could be very taxing. On the body, on the mind. You just, I'm getting a call up. What if I had a bad game the night before? I mean, now I'm
right.
over here about, what I need to do to have a good game before I get there. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot that goes into it that we don't think about. But what evens the playing field, I believe, is being on the field and playing. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Thing off the field most definitely is stressful and tedious, but when you get on that field and start playing, it's like, okay, I'm in my element now, so let's go do this.
So September 2011, you make your MLB debut as a Cardinal.
Yeah, man.
And I believe you were a pinch runner.
That's right.
Um, I gotta ask, what were you feeling when you got on first to pinch run? Like, what were you nervous? Were you excited?
Oh man, I was sweating bullets. Prince Fielder was at first too, and I never forget Prince Fielder smiled, turned around, smiled at me, looked at me, and said, "Congratulations!" Right? Prince Fielder was like one of my favorite guys back then too. But what I remember is the standing ovation, man. Like the whole stadium. You know what I'm saying? Or should I say ovation? Maybe they all weren't standing up, but when they announced my name that I was in, man, it was like that's what made it official. Like it made it like, okay, I've arrived. And because of the handshakes, because everybody was shaking their hands, it made me be like, okay, I owe you something. I owe you a show. You know what I'm saying? I really felt like a showman, right? I was like, you know what? I'm finna put on the show for y'all. And I really believe that's what kind of helped me with my confidence playing the Cardinals. I mean, I could have made my debut at away in Chicago. You know what I mean? I could have got booed when I first came in the game. You know what I mean? I don't know, but being in St. Louis and getting that ovation, man, it was humbling and most definitely like a starter for me. You know what I'm saying? Like I was, all right, what y'all standing for me? I'm finna show y'all what I can do. Yeah, this is what y'all get. You know what I'm saying? So most definitely a moment that I never forget. Nervous as heck, which is normal to me. But like I said, after that ovation, I felt like I was home. I felt like, I don't care who the pitcher was, who the team was. You couldn't stop me. You know what I mean? You couldn't strike me out. You couldn't hit it over my head. You couldn't throw me out, still in the base. Like I felt like I belonged.
And that's an amazing feeling. Like, where you are, you know what I mean? Like, you had some clutch plays and some clutch hits, especially that same month, September 24th, against Chicago, the
Yeah,
Cubbies.
yeah, man.
You hit
One
that.
of Tony, one of the Tony Rooster's favorite games, matter of fact.
I remember that game very well because I
Yeah,
remember watching, me being from New Jersey, of course, you're either picking the Yankees or the Mets. Am I a diehard Yankee fan? Not really. I'm a fan, but also
yeah,
I'm a fan of all baseball. Why? Because too many great players. I've grown up watching Canseco, Griffey, Winfield, Strawberry, Mattingly, you in 2011. You know what I mean? Like, I've seen all you guys play. So I'm a fan of the sport. There's too many great players because, Ricky Henderson's another one. When you look at the names, Lance Berkman, Albert Pujols, another great catcher in MLB history. You know what I mean? Like, you got to play too with some major names, Matt Holliday.
Lance Bergman, Matt Holliday, Rafael Furcal, Ryan Terrio, Nick Punto, Edwin Jackson, Arthur Rose, Corey Patterson, Dotel, Ryan Franklin. Man, I mean, and if I had to go before that, Troy Gloss, Rick
Mhm.
Ankiel,
Yeah,
Mark McGuire was my hitting coach, man.
Mark.
Like
Oh
you,
my God, that had to be a great honor to have
what?
Mark McGuire as your hitting coach.
I thought I was gonna be a home run hitter, man. Like I was like, what? I got the home run king as a hitting coach. I'm finna hit 1,000 home runs. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, being able to that all that builds your confidence. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Seeing how, I mean, to this day, Mark McGwire still works out. You know what I'm
Oh
saying?
yeah.
You're seeing the way that they operate and the way they take care of business. It kind of makes you. I remember when I first got to the locker room, when I got my call up, Mark McGwire comes up to me, even though we spent a lot of time in spring training. He walks up to me, he says, uh, create you a plan, Adron. You know what I'm saying? Like, create a plan now. If you want to stay in the big league, you want to stay here with us, create a plan. You know what I mean? So it's like I was able to see and get tips, what I mean, from these guys. And dog, I never forget it. You know what I mean? I never forget it. They set the tone for how I how serious I took the game. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? That 2011 year, man, I didn't think I was no different from anybody, man. Like I thought I was Albert Pujols. I thought I was David Freese. I thought I was Edwin Jackson. You know what I mean? Like I thought I was a big leaguer. You feel me? And it was
Yeah.
because how and what everybody else was doing around that field. You know what I'm saying? How they handled their business, how they showed me the ropes. You know what I mean? Like very, very important, dog. Being there, Lance Berkman. I mean, that's one of the greatest switch hitters in the game. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So it's like I had access to guys that really helped and showed me the way.
I mean, now, I mean, the first when you got to the club, when you got called, do you remember who was the first person you met at the clubhouse from the team?
Albert Pujols.
And how
He was
what?
there. I thought I was gonna get there early, right? I thought I was gonna be the first person. I'm gonna get there, 11, 12 o'clock, it's a 7 o'clock game. I'm like, I'm gonna get there early, you know what I'm saying? Like, uh, let everybody know that I'm dedicated to the team. And I pull up and somebody outside where we park at washing the cars. He was outside washing these beautiful Bentleys and all this stuff, right? So I'm over here like, okay, that's tight. You know what I mean? You come up to a stadium and you got a nice, Rolls Royce outside. Then I walk in the locker room and freaking Albert Pujols is already done with his workout. You know what I'm saying? And the guy that was washing the cars comes up to him and hand him some keys, and he was washing Albert Pujols' car outside. It's like I'm over here thinking like, oh man, I got a long way to go. You know what I'm saying? Like Albert is already done with his workout. So he had been there, got his massage, watched his video, and already finished. Like it was unbelievable, man. Like they call him a machine, and he really was a machine, man. Like and Yadier Molina was the same way.
Hmm. And it's kind of funny. Like I remember watching these guys, where they played every game. They were just professional and courteous to people. You know what I mean? I knew that from the beginning. So that's kind of cool that the first interaction you had was Albert Pujols. That had to be.
You feel me? Like he set the tone for how I had to represent myself over there. I mean, he set the standard, as I tell my young people. What is the standard? He set the standard very high. So I knew what time everybody hit. I knew what time so I can get out of the way. You know what I mean? I better not have been in a batting cage when Lance Bergman was in it. You know what I mean? It was Lance Bergman time. He had his set time that he hit every day in the cages. And I made sure I got out of the way and respected that. I had to be there early to see that though. You
Right.
feel? I had to see that. And that's a lot of the things. So many people think that sports is like a own field. I mean, being a teammate is an own field thing. I got to encourage my team and I got to, no, you got to pay attention to everything. You got to see how the coaches coach. You got to see what time these guys work and how they get their work in so you can make sure that you respect their time and you able to still get your time in. Like, it's so much more to it than just, going out hitting a home run. You know what I'm saying? To be a good teammate, you got to not only do your part, but you got to pay attention to other teams and the parts that they play too.
Yeah, and that's something, and like you said, you actually had Tommy Lasorda as your coach too.
Tony La Russa.
Oh, LaRusso, not LaRusso. I'm sorry. Oh God, someone's gonna smack me later. Sorry, Tony LaRusso. I apologize.
No doubt. It's
I that
Tommy Lasorda was a good guy too, though.
yeah, he is. It's just funny because when you say Tommy, it's just it always pops out LaRusso. Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
How was he as a skipper for the team and you at that point when you came up?
Man, Tony, even in spring training, I never forget in spring training, he was like he felt like the general manager of the team.
Oh,
You know,
really?
he was like the general. You know what I mean? He was the commander in chief. He was the head manager in charge. You know what I'm saying? Like he was most definitely a man of few words. You know, didn't have to say a lot, but you know what he said, he meant, and you better be paying attention, or you weren't gonna be there. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
Tony Russo most definitely was that guy that everybody respected, wanted to play for because you knew you was gonna get honesty. You know what I mean? You knew you was gonna get some honesty from him. On what you're gonna be doing, and he always set me up to have success. Like think about what you said. One of my greatest attributes is my speed. My first time getting in the game, it wasn't to go hit. It was to go
So
run the.
yeah,
You know, so he set it up for me to be comfortable. You know what I
mhm.
mean? Like I could have, it could have been totally different if I would have came in the game to hit and strike out. You know what I'm saying? I could have that confidence would have been down. So he was very much he paid attention to every detail. He was very detailed man. He had everything wrote down. He knew what you was gonna do before the game. He was good. He was good about setting his players up for success.
And it was funny. I remember the commentary of that game saying it's a good thing you're running. You know what I mean? So you're not sweating bullets with batting because again, you're entering the stadium and the first time you're hearing your name and the crowd's cheering for you, you're like, whoa. Like for me, I know I would probably be scared out of my mind, not realizing what I'm doing. I forget everything I'm doing. You know what I mean? Like as an MLB player professionally, you like you said, you had to set up that standards and like even that first day being there where you see pool hosts, you already kind of know
This is
what
the thing.
this is the standard you have to be in. And I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
Now,
It's so nice to see that.
October comes around, Cardinals are in the playoffs, you guys are doing well, and then Matt Holliday got injured. You were added to the roster. What was that like too? Like being
That was pretty cool because of many, many reasons. So I played every game in the playoffs, right? So I just got there.
Mhm.
Now off roster. Like what the world am I doing on the playoff roster, right? Um, and I did well. I had a couple hits, RBI. I had my first RBI. Um, so the World Series comes around, and Tony La Russa comes up to me, and I was on the roster in the playoffs. He said, "Adron, we're playing. That's when pitchers could hit." So he was
Yes.
like, "We're gonna go with an extra pitcher, and we're gonna take you off the roster." So at the beginning of this World Series, I was not on the roster, right? I was a guy on the sideline in the dugout watching the game with my turfs on. And that's how I like to explain the story because I went from turf to my cleats. And, when you in your turfs, you ain't going to play. When you in your cleats, you got a possibility game. Well, game six, which was one of like the greatest, game six of the World Series games ever. It was like one of the greatest game sixes ever in baseball. Man, Holiday slides back into third base they try to pick him off and they end up picking him back. And when he slid back, he ended up messing up his finger. Well, we didn't know. Obviously, we needed Matt Holliday. His bat started turning back up. Um, so the next day, I'm over here like, we thinking Matt gonna be back. Matt is the toughest guy on our team. Like, that's Matt Holliday. He ain't gonna not play in game seven of the World Series. No, this is the last game of the season. I'm in Fridays, TGI Fridays, with my girlfriend Whitney at the time, and big shout out to Whitney too. Her dad Riley Bailey, man, passed away
Ooh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Past few months, man. Yeah, it's been tough. But great man too. He was at the World Series, matter of fact. So it's appropriate that I speak about him. Um, but we are sitting at the restaurant, and next thing you know, what comes across the screen while we sitting down eating at TGI Fridays, at the bottom of the screen at ESPN, it says Adron Chambers will replace Matt Holliday, right? So we was in St. Louis, so some fans sees that and they recognize I'm in there. And they like, Adron, you supposed to be at the field, man. You in for Matt Holliday. I said, what? Man, we ain't even pay that bill, man. We got up and we ran to the doggone stadium, dog. We were flying to that. And yeah, man, it was like one of the moments where now I realized that, I'm in the game again. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
throughout the whole playoffs, I was hungry. I was always the big cheerleader on the team, right? Everybody knew me for my cheering on the team. I was always that encourager. My cheering was still there, in the World Series, most definitely. It was a little different knowing game 7. You know what I'm saying? Knowing I was going to be able to play in game 7, it was very interesting, man, because at that time I was like the youngest guy with the fewest at bats ever on a World Series roster.
Mhm.
I think I only had like 9 or 10 at bats. You know what I'm saying, during the season and in the playoffs. Like I didn't have a lot of at bats, and I'm on a roster. I'm about to play on a roster in the World
Right.
Series, the biggest game there is. So it's most definitely some of them surreal moments where it was like, wow, you know what I mean? Like even now, 13 years later, thinking about it, it's like, wow, I never really realized how significant everything was until after the fact. You know what I mean? After the days of living in it, in the moment. Now I'm like, wow. David Freed said something a little while back. He was saying that's something that he does now. He goes back and he's able to go back and think of what we were doing during those moments. Like we don't think about the World Series. We think about the moments leading up to the World Series. Like we was a big family, dog. Like
Mhm.
I mean, I would go out to restaurants and Mark McGuire would, buy me a bottle of wine and send it to my table. You know what I'm saying? It was like we really had a family. So being able to be a part of that World Series, dog, was it when I got on, it was like I was a part of the family again. You know what I mean? I was already a part of the family, but it kind of just it made it a little bit more, you know, more important. You know what I'm saying? Being added to that roster. I'm thankful for Matt Holliday. I wish he wouldn't got hurt, but you know what I'm saying? Like I was able to, find my way, and now when you pull up the roster of the 2011 World Series champion St. Louis Cardinals, you're gonna see my name as a person that, you know what I mean, I was there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was part of that process, so that's pretty cool. You know what I'm saying? That's the cool part. I got a shirt, St. Louis Cardinals shirt, and they have the roster. You know what I mean? They have the roster of everybody, all 26 or 7 players that was on the roster, and my name is there. You know what I mean? So
And it's etched in history too.
it's
And
etched in history. You got Lance Bergman, John Jay, Matt Holliday, I think it was Alan Craig, and then Adron Chambers. You know what I'm saying? Like I was there. You know what I'm saying? Like that was pretty tight.
that's so like amazing because people who don't realize like game 7 World Series, it can be World Series, it can be the Super Bowl, it can be the Stanley Cup. They don't realize the importance of what everyone's going through game 7. Like
Oh,
you were at TGI Fridays when you're hearing this news, rushing to the stadium to get.
bro. I was like, cause especially in a game 7, that's a deciding game. So it's like you want to make sure that you're doing everything right. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like sure everything is right, man. And it was like I said, it was like one of the surreal moments. Like what? Like everybody in the restaurant was like, "What in the world is going?" Like, Adrian, why are you here right now? Go to this. I'm over here like, it
Damn.
was. My girl was like, she was right behind me. She probably was running faster than me. You know what I'm saying? She was. It was crazy, dog. It was crazy, crazy, crazy.
but
So
I mean, those are the greatest opportunities to ever hear. Like this, you have a great, awesome story for that because you don't hear people say that. Like for me, I it's just an amazing thing that what you've gone through, Adrian. You know what I mean? You are to me a legit MLB. You,
thank you.
you got to the game as a rookie. You help the team get in the playoffs
Right. That's right.
against the Cubs.
Yeah, man.
You play in the active roster, the World Series. You waited for your turn, and you
Exactly.
get that ring.
That's right.
How I know it's you got to wait a couple months for the ring at opening day, but I got to ask, how was seeing that
Uh,
ring
the,
with your name on it?
the biggest one, it was even before the ring, man. I was in Venezuela, no, yeah, Colombia. I I was playing with Caracas. I
Okay.
was over there in Caracas. Uh, um, he I was playing with Caracas, and um I was supposed to go play winter ball after the World Series.
Hmm.
Uh, he he I so many of my teammates too were like, "What are you doing here, bro? Like, why are you even here? Because we just won a World Series." Well, I was a part of that roster, but I didn't feel like I was like uh, David Freese who hit the game-winning home run, right? So I felt like I had to still go make some money. You know what I mean? I was still a rookie. I had to go make some money. Well, I'm in Venezuela, and I look at my bank account one day, uh, and I seen that I had a lot of money in my account. You know what I'm
All of a
saying?
sudden, yeah.
So it's like, you know, during the World Series, during the playoffs, actually, it's like, you get paid for every
Hmm.
level you go to. And, they basically gave me a full share. You know what I mean? I didn't hit no home runs, you know what I'm saying? And it was like, so it was like, wow, like, you know what I mean? Like, wow, you know what I mean? Like, I'm a part, and that's what they remind me all the time of, like, Adron, like, bro, because it's hard to, as much as a winner as I am, I want to be able to contribute in a big, big, big way. You know what I mean? So a lot of times, when we just cheering and all that kind of stuff, you don't really consider that as being enough.
Hmm.
Which all of my teammates were like, Adron, oh yes, it is, buddy. You know what I'm saying? Like you encouraging us. I mean, I had my hits, but you encouraging us is way more important than your hits. From the outside looking in, it's like, nah, bro, like it ain't that. You know what I mean? It's that's. But David Free, I never forget. David Free would say, remind me all the time, like you belong here, bro. Like you are just as important as everybody else on this field, and those kind of things were very encouraging to hear,
Hmm.
man. I wasn't. I'm a competitor. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like a baller. I'm just as good as all of y'all. You know what I mean? But I'm over here having to, make sure I do this part. Again, going back to understanding what a real teammate is. You know what I'm saying? I had to remember or remind myself that cheering is just as important. It's just as important. You know what I mean? So yeah, man, it was some great moments. You know what I'm saying during that time, dog. Some very very interesting moments.
I can only imagine. Like I said, like I can't think of what it was like for you. You know what I mean? But hearing your story, you're also very humble, though. You know what I mean? Like you were there. You took it all in. You weren't like one of those sometimes these other rookies that come up and like, oh, look at me. You know what I mean? Like you're very humble, and you took the lessons that these guys taught you, and
That was
you.
before I had like Arthur Rose. Arthur Rose would have knocked my head off my shoulders. And like Edwin Jackson, I still remember me. I took he used to bring coconut water to the stadium all the time. And I didn't know. They used to put it in the refrigerator, so I thought it was everybody, you know.
Oh.
So I would drink it every day for like a week. I was drinking this coconut water. And then one day he just walked up to me in the outfield during batting practice and was like, hey man, I know that you've been stealing my water. Like basically he thought I was like disrespecting him, like I was doing it on purpose. Like And he was like, "Hey, I'm finna whoop your behind." You know what I'm saying? Like, what's up? You know what I mean? I had, oh, man, my bad, dog. Like, I ain't know it was yours. And so it's like, they really put me in my place a lot of times to let me know the order and how things were around there.
Mhm.
So, yeah, man, moments like that, I had to make sure that, I was on my P's and Q's and operating like a man. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, you gonna respect us around here too. So yeah, man. Hey, I ain't had no choice but to act the right way or they was gonna beat my butt.
That I get. I totally understand that. So I gotta ask this: favorite stadium you ever played in?
Wrigley.
Okay, Wrigley Field, the arch rival of St. Louis.
Exactly. And a lot of Cardinal fans probably gonna hate me for that, but Wrigley Field, man, was my favorite stadium. It was more so because I'm able to sit in the same locker room as, Babe Ruth and Hank Aaron and Willie Mays Hayes and you know what I mean? So many great, you know what I'm saying, baseball names, dog. Like I felt the energy in that place. I felt it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, Wrigley by far is my favorite place.
All right, and I respect that. You know, what I mean, I like that. It's kind of funny. Like when I announced that you were coming on the show, I actually had a few Cardinals fans going, "Yes, finally a Cardinal coming on your show." So a lot of
Yeah.
guys are excited to see this. Listen, Adrian, I gotta thank you for coming on today. You know what I mean? I know you're a busy guy. I know you're busy. You got golf outing dinners tonight and probably
Yeah,
golf outings soon.
I'm over here looking at the time now, like, damn, I gotta cut my hair right quick, but it's all good, man. I'm happy to be a part of this, dog. Thank you so much for allowing me to share my story.
No, man, I listen, the honor is mine, you know what I mean, to having you on the show. And, if you ever want to come back on, man, you're always welcomed here.
Yeah,
Um, you know, it's again, your story was such an amazing story, from the truth. And, like every message I give out is pretty much the same, saying, keep pushing hard, make your dreams come true. And you are living proof right there. You made the transition from football, quarterback star to a baseball, MLB baseball World Series champion player. You know what I mean? Like you
yeah,
did it.
no doubt.
And that's an awesome story, man. And I can't thank you enough.
No doubt, man. I appreciate you, man. Anytime you want me on, just call me back.
Oh, without a doubt, man. I'll definitely grab info from you before we sign off when we sign off. But I appreciate you coming on.
No
Guys,
doubt.
as you can see, dreams come true, man. He's proof right here. Being a 2011 St. Louis Cardinal champion for all you Cardinals fans out there. I'm looking forward to having you back on the show for another time, without a doubt. And guys, there's nothing the way I always end my show. It's nothing but love, peace, and happiness. Good night, everybody.
Already. Appreciate that, man.